Welcome to the Property Couch, where each week you get to listen to two of Australia's leading experts. Bryce Holdaway, co-host of Location Australia on Foxtel's Lifestyle Channel, co-host of Escape from the City on the ABC, and partner of Empower Wealth Advisory. Ben Kingsley, chair of Property Investors Council of Australia and the founder of Empower Wealth Advisory, named the 2018 and 2019 Property Advisory Firm of the Year. Stay tuned as they bring you the insider's guide to property, finance and money management.
All right, Ben, welcome back to the summer series of the Property Couch podcast. Last week was a super episode. Today is a ripper also, Ben. We're chatting to someone who got stung by a spruiker, and then the recovery is amazing.
Yeah, Bryce, sort of December, you're just starting to look at Christmas.
Yeah.
We're in this. So I know I'm looking forward to this chat with Michael because there's a lot of takeaways here. Can't wait to get to go through that program with him. It's going to be amazing.
Mate, it's a ripper. Let's cut to it now. Let's listen to the conversation we had recently with Michael. All right, Ben, we've got a very special guest today on the summer series of the Property Couch. We are chatting with Michael Hampton. First of all, welcome to the Property Couch, Michael.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Hey, we've got lots to unpack in your story, Michael, and the theme of all the summer series is around financial transformation. So we're excited to see what that looks like for you. But we always like to go back to the very beginning, mate. So if you could let us know, excuse me, what conversations around money were like for you growing up in the household when you were a kid?
Yeah, so didn't really have much money conversations. It was just me and my mum since I was 3 till I was about 10 when my mum met my stepdad. And we used to just live in a caravan in Mataranka, so a couple of hours south of Darwin. And we didn't even have a car until I was 9, so it wasn't really spoken about, to be honest. So
you're in a caravan when you're growing up. So tell us a bit. What does that look like?
Yeah, just lived in a caravan for a few years there. We had bikes at the ride to school, so it was 3K ride, and mum as well. She used to work at the library, so we just used to go in there. And then eventually we moved into town and just had a small apartment, and that's what I pretty much always lived in rentals for most of my life too. So never got to put anything on the walls. It was never really mine. And I remember being young, always wanting to buy my own place and actually have something that was mine. So that kind of gave me drive, I think, from a young age. Then when my mum met my stepdad, it was still the same. Didn't really talk about money again. But when I was 15, I think it's when they bought their first house. But we never really. So mum always had got things for me. I always still had Lego, and if I had a bike and stuff like that. So I never really felt like I was going without. And being young and living in Mataranka and stuff, I used to just like going out and making cubby houses and things like that. So I didn't miss out anyway. And mum did pretty good with just me and her. So.
Well, it's amazing, right? I mean, a caravan park is, you're starting at the bottom and you're working your way up. So did you ever talk about the backstory with your mum and how it got to that position, or was she ever open about that in terms of, the struggles that she went through? I mean, obviously she's a super mum, right? Yeah. Let's be honest. Any single mum is a super mum.
Yeah. Well, I think it was like my real dad, he never paid child support or anything like that. So it was like mum's just done it all on her own. And, and so props to her. But yeah, I think we just, she might've known someone out there at the caravan park, and it was like 5 caravans. So it wasn't really a park. I don't know what it was, but yeah, so she's done really well, and always been able to get me everything I needed. So yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it, Michael, that, when you look back, it was humble beginnings, but it sounded like you didn't have any sense of lack or missing out, or that there was anything untoward about that. So were there any, like, you didn't have any conversations about money, but what were your observations about money then that you were observing for your mum?
Yeah, like I knew it was tight, I suppose, but like I said, like half the time, when you're little like that, you're just playing around. You don't really. I had everything I wanted. I had a bike, had the bush, like chasing lizards and stuff like that. So I didn't need all the fancy stuff. And that's just what I grew up with, just running around there. So I didn't really know. A lot of the other fellas there, they lived out on farms and stuff, my other friends, like cattle stations and stuff. So again, they didn't have anything fancy either. So I don't know, it's just what
made your own fun, right?
yeah,
And
pretty much that's it.
And someone who's just this year been to Mataranka, and obviously it's famous for its springs, and the sulphur springs there, the hot water spring. It is an incredible little township, right? But there's just to paint a picture for people, explain the town, right? It's not really a town. It's got
it's like a pub, a school, a post office. That's about it. Yeah. And the school I went to as well, it was from grade 1 to grade 7, and there was, I think, 20 kids and one teacher and one TA. So you can imagine, like, one teacher's trying to teach everybody. It was pretty hectic.
And so you're getting on your bike and you're wandering down to the springs at night and all of that. Like, tell us, just paint a little bit of a story for the community around what it was like growing up in such a remote and you know, but still stunningly beautiful part of the world, right?
Yeah. So I remember trying to learn to swim. There's like freshwater crocodiles literally laying on the side of the bank with their mouths open and stuff, and being scared to try and swim in. Just people saying, "Don't worry about it; they won't bite you, or they'll just bite your toes or something." But I don't know. It's pretty wild, and it was fun for me just with all the lizards and snakes and stuff getting around everywhere, and just.
Yeah, it is an incredible part of Australia, and I do recommend anyone get to it. So and again, it takes a year or two before your mum finds your stepdad, and then they go on their journey. How did you follow that journey? Were you sort of conscious of when they bought their first house and what they were planning to do and trying to get, you know, sort of more financially secure themselves?
Yeah, so that was when I was they met when I was 9, and then we moved to Rockhampton, and then we ended up moving to Mackay, and that's where they bought their place. We got an old railway Queenslander for 60 grand, I think it was. And that was when I was 15, and then they did it up, spent a bit of money on it, and it was just, I think they finally both had some money together. You know, were settled in their jobs, but they were never really about investing or anything like that. They just bought that house and that was it. So I never really had any mentor or anything like that, or been able to sort of see that. But I just know I always remember just wanting to get my own place as soon as I was able to, and that's what happened when I was I ended up getting a good job with the railway. And then when I was 20, I built my first house in Mackay. So that was actually during the boom too, but it was just a little spec home on 800 square meters. But I remember being so scared to get the loan that I didn't even get grass included. I didn't sort of put a patio on the back. I just was trying to, I don't know, it's silly now because if I could talk to myself, I'd just go get the extra money. It's nothing really, but interest rates were 8% then too. And so then I had just weeds for grass, and that's like a shade sail over the back for a while. But it was just like with my mates living there, because actually at the time too, was being 19 and 20, you couldn't get a rental because of the boom, and no one wants to rent to like 4 19-year-olds. So it was easier for me to build a house and get money from the bank than it was to actually get a rental. But that was good, and I didn't really make much money off that, because when it was always meant to be a stepping stone for me too. I did want to build more or buy more, and I read all the sort of a fair few books to make me say dangerous. I didn't really understand how it says like every place makes 7% and all this stuff, and I didn't understand that actually meant in probably better areas like Brisbane and things like that. And I was doing it just where I lived, so it could have been good, but then I held on to the property probably too long, and then it went to the bust of the boom, and then I made a little bit, but I think once you break it down, I probably didn't make anything out of it.
So let's just take a moment. There's a lot we're going through here, so I want to slow it down and unpack this a bit. But this is great. This is awesome, right? So the first thing my first question is: you're 19, right? There's a boom going on, right? And in this case, it's the mining boom. And Mackay is experiencing record numbers. You know, if you're familiar with the coal area of Mackay, out the back of Mackay, and lots of places up through there, Blackwater and all these places were absolutely going crazy in terms of, you know, this mining boom. There's a huge stockpile of coal out the back of Mackay and all of that region. So here we are. You're 19. You've got a job in the rail yards and obviously shipping coal and obviously cane, sugar cane, and all those types of things. So there's, you know, in terms of that type of industry, there's a fair bit of work going on. But I'm interested in you're starting to earn an income. How did you know to set up a bank account? How did you structure your finances?
Yeah, so at the start, I just went with, I had the old Combank sort of
Dollar
thing from when you're
saver.
a kid.
Yeah.
But
Dollar mite
yeah,
or whatever it's called.
I'm still with them. But yeah, but I actually was with, I was with the railway, like they had a credit union too. And you sort of got one of them and they had good interest rates for us. So I did that. And I think like my stepdad or my dad, I worked with him sort of in the railway as well. So they already had the railway credit union accounts and things like that. So, but the other thing when I did it, I didn't talk to my parents about it. I just went and seen a bank and started doing it all myself and just talked to people and they just sort of set it up and helped me out. But yeah, like, I don't know why. I just feel I didn't really ever speak too much about it. I don't know why, but just did my own thing. I felt like I was pretty independent. I just did look like growing up, like I said, and just doing my own thing and probably would have been good to talk to someone. But I remember, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
You've given us some hints along the way, right? You're independent. You were very determined to buy your own house. You grew up in a caravan park. Your first house was 15. I think you said you were 9 when there was the first car. So there's these mixed sort of life lessons that you're learning along the way. But can you where did the drive to get the first property come from? I think you've given us a few hints, but also. What and why were you able to step forward and actually do it without asking for advice, without running it past your parents? Where did all that start? Where was the fire lit?
So just like you said, growing up in rental places my whole life and never having anything that felt like ours. So, you know, having to move all the time and just I wanted something that I could put posters on the wall or do something like that, make it mine, paint the walls if we wanted to, you know, do something in the garden. I wanted that, and I wanted to not be moving like all the time, like kind of what we did. And then, yeah, in regards of saving stuff, I've always been pretty good. Like mum and that used to make me do like chores and stuff for money, for pocket money. And then if I actually wanted anything, I had to save for it. And I remember the first thing I bought, maybe when I was 10, I saved up for a year and a half and bought a remote control airplane. But that was good. Once I got that, they took me to lessons and I learned how to fly it and stuff. But that was, it kind of was a young age learning to save. When I got my job, I was still living at home for a year and was paying rent there with mum and stuff. And then I just could save. Like I never really was interested in buying expensive clothes and stuff, though I did waste a lot of money going out to the clubs when you're that age. But I still always saved first, and I kind of was always good like that. And then, but a big lesson I learned with money, and that changed a lot of my view, was when I was 21, I think it was, and I was still living at that house I built with my mate, and we went overseas. And so I must have spent $6,000 or something going on a Kentucky tour, and then I came back to $5,000 worth of bills. Like, so my rates, insurance and everything was due, and I had no money to pay for it. So I slowly paid it all off, and then after that, I just literally worked out every single bill, divided into fortnightly amounts, and I've always saved that first, so I can always pay my bills, and then, you know, then save savings money, and then anything else is mine to spend. And that's kind of how it stemmed off, and I've just always done some version of that.
Yeah.
Until I eventually found the money smarts, and that's what I go with now. But yeah.
Cool. So we'll dive into that. So, but what did you have a spreadsheet? This is pre-money smarts. Was it a spreadsheet? Yeah. Did you put it into jars? Did you have separate bank accounts? What did it look like?
Yeah. So spreadsheets, what I've always done. I like tinkering around and in spreadsheets. I like watching it. I like seeing it. So I would go in there every fortnight when I got paid, and I would actually like put it into a little calculator I had on the spreadsheet and work out how much was to go here and there. And I like to do that, but it was time consuming, and yeah, it was just me liking to watch where my money was going. But yeah, so I don't know, but just this system's so much easier, and it actually makes me feel weird, like it's just too easy kind of thing. But
I get it. But here's the thing. I mean, a lot of people like you, great saver, but no forward planning, right? I mean, hence the Kentucky tour, come back. Whoa, okay, you know. So you've learnt the first stage of delayed gratification, which is teaching yourself to go without some things. Other things like your rite of passage through the nightclubs and the bars and all that. That's fair enough. You know, everyone has a rite of passage. In terms of, but then it's that next stage of money management development, which is around, okay, what job has that future money got to do for me? And you were able to then start to think about that. So you had a hard lesson around, you know, a big bills to clear and debts to clear, and that just pushed you into the next evolution of your development. So I think it's a terrific story, Michael, in respect of these are the building blocks that you need as part of money management. Now, I'm curious to say, you know, someone who's taken an interest in money, and we have a lot of people who are fascinated about making the invisible visible, who love their spreadsheets and love to run their scenarios and their hypotheses. So tell me, how did that make you feel when you got to Money Smart and you're like, oh, this is bloody no good. 10 minutes a month, crap. Like, you know, I want
to deep dive.
I want to have a look at it. But what about when you started to think about the annual target and chasing that annual target down?
Well, that's like in the Money Smarts, you can see it has all the graphs and stuff like that. And you can literally break down everything, and it's really good like that. You can easily change if bills change or you get new bills, you can add it, and like it does give you that target, and you can trend it all. And that's what I have been. I think it makes me save better. Like I'm actually trying to. Well, if I'm looking like I'm low on something, like, you know, maybe this month I've had a few extra bills, I'll somehow try and still get that target.
That's brilliant. Now, in terms of, you know, you how did you find the system? Oops, sorry.
Yeah, so every now and then I just jump on the internet and Google like different spreadsheets or like somebody's sort of money ideas and things like that. And that's how I found your website, and I had seen it, and I didn't go on it for a while. I was like, oh, nah, I like my thing, and
I've got
whatever.
This.
Yeah. So, but then I think, like I said, I ended up listening to the podcast, and then I was like, oh, I'll check it out. So I did, and then it was like, obviously it was easy and made a lot of sense, and then and that's what sort of led me on to continue with it. And so I think another question you were sort of asking for was about when I was buying my properties and stuff. I've never actually had an idea. I didn't really know the end game and things like that. Like I've read the books and they sort of say buy heaps of properties and then sell them down, and I never had any goal. And like having this Money Smarts too, it's given me a savings goal and other things, and that then led on to me getting the properties plan, which actually has given me it's made me a lot less sort of anxious about the future or thinking about it, because now I know I've got a goal, and it's not like go buy 10 properties and then have to sell 4 or whatever and pay it off. It's confusing a little bit. Like I now know I've got my target. I've got other things there, like when I can buy a new car and things like that. So I just have it all out, like laid out. And, you know, and that's another thing. I like to beat that target too, because it sort of says just how much money you maybe should have in your offset account at this month. And I can see that I'm ahead. So, yeah, I like seeing all that stuff. So, yeah.
It gives you good visibility, right? Because a lot of people don't have a real handle on money. And then if you don't have a handle on money, and then but you know that you've got to plan for the future, you get an investment property, it just actually amplifies the turmoil that was there before. Yeah. Whereas when you go through that planning process, as you say, not only are you adding investments into your world, but you're also trying to say, well, I've got this car that I want to buy, or this major milestone that I want to buy, and I have to factor that in as well. Yeah. And as you say, it gives you a bit of peace of mind. So, tell us a bit about what that hum of anxiety in the back of your head feels like when you don't have that sort of clarity of pathway.
Yeah, you don't know when where to buy and build, and just I'm not sure if I was going to have enough money. Like I'm just with my retirement, obviously, and things like that, and I want to provide for my family, and I want to be able to go traveling and stuff when I'm a bit older, like Ben just did when he was 50, or, you know, his birthday the other few months ago, and just things like that, and not have to be working right up until I'm 65, and I just want that peace of mind. And that's the other thing. I've done everything wrong. Like, you know, Bryce, you talk about buying with a friend and stuff. I've done that too. After I built that house when I was 20, me and my mate went halves in a place on the Gold Coast as well. So I did that, and I had that for a few years. And then got rid of that, and even after that, I realised that I couldn't do it on my own properly, and I wasn't I needed like a mentor or someone to help me or guide me. And then so I was looking, and I found I'm pretty sure that property Spruikers, and it's kind of what I worked out. And I ended up paying like $10,000 for that, like for courses and stuff, which your podcast just outperforms that, and it's free. And I ended up going and buying a place in Brisbane, Mango Hill, in a new development. And it was like, you know, promised high rents and stuff like this. And it was on 300 square metre block, 4-bedroom, tiny little house. And then the rent never never actually got to, even after 5 years later, it still never was at what they sort of said I was going to rent for. And then I was actually, what got me onto the podcast was I was thinking about that house and how much I wouldn't ever want to live there. And I sort of thought I need to get my money back out of that and buy something that I would like to live in. And that's when I listened to one of the podcasts where you talk about owner-occupier appeal. So something that you'd want to live in. And that's what really triggered me to keep listening to the podcast. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm starting to think. And then just all your other ideas, like getting closer to the city if you can, try and, look for shopping centers and stuff close, and just better the whole structure. Like, whereas I feel like I did that mentorship thing with that group and they just pretty much tried to try and sell me a house. And they talk about the, tax benefits you can get from depreciation and also not paying stamp duty. But overall, I would have rather pay stamp duty and not paid. I got less tax back to actually get some yield, like growth in the property. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense for me, and that's what I'm doing right now. I've sold that property toward the start of the year, and I'm working with a buyer's agent to try and find another place. And at the moment, it's proving a little bit difficult. That's because everything's going crazy. So yeah, but.
Michael, can I lean in on just that last point? Yeah. Because I think it's a really good learning exercise for all the listeners. Mm-hmm. That Spruiker is a grooming process to get them to buy what they already have predetermined. Can you just give us a little bit more detail on that so that our listeners can understand what to look out for?
Yeah, so these guys, they like sort of talk you through all the process and stuff, and it makes like it's like kind of what you guys say in the podcast anyway, like that. And then they sort of talk about you can buy an old place, do it up, and all these other things. But then they push towards the end. They push towards their like off the plan builds and things like that. And they're like, oh, we're getting these before they go on the market. Exactly what you guys say. Like they're saying it's like the scarcity of stock. There's only 5 of these you can get, and then you're getting first in, and it's a little bit cheap. Like it's the whole thing like that. And I was pretty like skeptical of a lot of things, but I was trying to be open. I'm trying to like be like, no, maybe I need help. And normally I wouldn't have done it, but that's what I don't know. I just sort of went with it because I needed some guidance and things, and it just seemed like it was good until the end. And it just didn't work out in my favour.
Michael, look, the best investment anyone can ever make is in themselves, right? So we've from our point of view, this podcast is about stopping people making dumb decisions with money, but it's also about fixing bad property investment advice. Now, as you say, it's free to listen to, but there are definitely other people out there who have different opinions to us, and that's fine. But what's really important about what you've just said is that you were prepared to make that investment in you. Now, you've learned from it, because you also identified that you're not flying blind. So I want to probably just talk about, if we can, the Mackay property first. Let's get some rough numbers. I don't need to know the bigger numbers, right? Because I think your privacy is important. But did you make in terms of what it cost and what you got out of it? Was there a profit in there, or was it around break even?
I built it for 360, and I think I sold it for 380. So. When you break it down,
and then when you whack interest on that and you put so basically a learning exercise. The going in it with your mate into the Goldie. What did you buy down there?
That one was all right. That was 320, and I sold that for 380.
Okay, so and over what period of time?
That was, I think it was 4 years, and that's the other thing. Everything I've done, it seems to be around the 5-year mark.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you can't make money sort of selling it like over that time. But it's just, I've realised things. I had to get out of that, like with my mate, I'm still good mates with him, and I know he'd do anything for me and stuff like that too. And but it was just, sort of
different agendas. Yeah.
We need to move on and get out of that thing and do our own thing, our own stuff. But
yep. So a little bit of profit there. I mean, obviously a game with interest, but I suspect the yield down in the Goldie would have been pretty good. And then you sort of...
Don't you wish you still held it now?
Yeah.
Oh, no. It was good. But we lived in it for a while too, and then we rented it out. So
Fair enough. So you scratch the itch down there. That's good. In terms of... Okay, so we're out of there. And now all of a sudden you're sort of saying, I know this property thing's got wheels, it's got legs, but I just can't seem to be executing as per what people are telling me about this 7% growth story. So hence you make an investment in yourself where a mob comes along and says, we're going to give you $10,000 worth of education, and you're going to be an expert in the property space, right? But as Bryce just alluded to, and as you found out at the end of the process, they want to flog you something, right? So from that point of view, that's been the outcome. Now, so tell us about this, this property that you sold in Brisbane. What did you pay for that one, the 4-bedroom on the?
Yeah, so that was like 480, and I sold that for 520.
Okay, so
but that was only just because of this market. Like,
yeah.
I honestly think if it wasn't for me, I would have had to hold on to it, a lot longer.
At one point there, it would have been negative, right? And did you get the classic rental guarantee?
It wasn't a rental guarantee, but so I never got that. But it was I had gone and seen real estate agents myself too, and they were saying 460. But then, when my house got built, so did 12 others, and they're all the same. And so I think I started at 420 a week rent, and so not too much worse, but literally only just before I sold it, it was going to go to 450, and that was 5 years later.
Okay. Now, and all of this process is taking place, and then are you now in a relationship? And did I hear family and kids? Is that in the program now? So tell us about what your family unit looks like today, and what are you doing in terms of big rocks in the jar and your lifestyle by design that you're now trying to put into place?
Yeah, so I got a little girl who's nearly 2. She turns 2 in March, and my wife, she's from Scotland, so she moved over here to be with me. We actually met on another Kentucky tour in America.
Great.
But yeah, we've been together for 6 years now, and
beautiful.
Got married over in Fiji. Yeah, eloped there. So she's good with money too. Like, she isn't a big spender, and so she's sort of been perfect. And she just sort of lets me take the reins of all that, try and invest or go this way, and I show her everything though. So she's involved, but she's not really one who cares too much about it. But in regards with what I want to do is, because I do normally 8 days on, 6 days off, and 6 days off, I could go look into property and stuff like that and try and do it myself. But like I said, I already have done a bad job of that. and I want to spend time with my family, and I've sort of, that's the new thing now. Once you have a kid and stuff, you realize that you spend a lot of time there, and I need to. So I've sort of palm that off to someone else to help me, and then with the buyers agents. And what's been awesome with them is they are literally showing me everything and talking about the strategies and how we're going to achieve buy something there. And we're not paying overs, because right now we've been trying to buy a few places, and there's people paying so much more than what it's worth, because they must have the cash to be able to just supply that extra thing that the bank won't loan you. So I can't afford to do that. Obviously, I don't want to. The buyers agents just show me okay, this is what it's worth. We just keep having a go at trying to get it.
And have we got the print? Have you got the home, Michael? You got a house?
Yeah. We built a house. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So you've built the house and is this the dream home for the next sort of 10 to 15 years?
Yeah.
And as you say, if you outperform the results, then of course, who knows, you might be able to also upgrade the house at some point as well. But that seems to be the dream home.
Yeah, when we built it, that's what I never really knew where I wanted to live too. I never had that sense of home kind of thing when I was living everywhere. I was at Gold Coast and running muck, and then we ended up moving. My wife wanted to move more closer to where I work, so we work in Rockhampton and Mackay, 6 months of the year each place. So we sort of chose back in Yeppoon. It's a little coastal town off Rocky, and as soon as we moved here, we sort of fell in love with it, and it's just so family orientated, and
it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, it
is such a great little spot.
And every time anybody comes to visit there, they reckon it's a good spot. And so as soon as I got here, I was like, yep, that's where we're going to live now, and pretty much. And we rented for a few years, and then we found a good block, and we sort of built a home that we want to live in for at least the next 10 years. So I don't need to worry about that anymore.
Hey, I think I can relate to a fair bit of your story, Michael. Notwithstanding, I got married in Fiji as well. But I think when you compare my story side by side with Ben, he's like the textbook, never did a thing wrong. He bought all the right properties. He's layups. Whereas I've got a history littered with mistakes, right? So I think a lot of the gold comes from some of those lessons that we learned in those mistakes. And I think what's really great about what you're sharing is giving people some real insights into what to look out for, right? But also I want to. You made a comment that you read enough books to make you dangerous, right? And in the books that it was all about 7%, and I reckon that's a classic. I fell for that. When I started investing in property back in 1999, when I was 24.
Yeah.
I had zero idea around that it was actually a live marketplace that you had to understand the nuances of. The book said everything goes up 7%. So my only goal was to put my name on a title.
That's exactly, yeah.
Didn't matter what title.
Yeah.
Just put your name on a title because the book says that it goes up 7%. So therefore it will double every 10 years. And I think that's an important message that you've just shared. Particularly given now that we've documented that the rising tide has lifted a lot of the ships over the last few decades, given the fact that the organic expenses have gone down, i.e. interest rates, and organic income's gone up, i.e. double income professional incomes. So can you, is there anything else that you think that you could share that you around that particular part of your story where, the book said buy it, so I just buy it? Because then you said, well, I probably should have been buying in Brisbane around where you were. Yeah. So give us a bit more detail around that.
Yeah, well, like I said, the book says that, and I actually went back and read that book again just the other day, and it actually does sort of maybe more say, buy in certain markets and stuff, but I probably just glazed over that a little bit, but it sort of does. They do a lot of push for that. And like I thought too, like, well, it was Mackay's booming. I thought it was a good thing. Again, I didn't understand. I'd never been through a boom or anything like that, and I don't think no one else had. And the market was going crazy too, so I kind of thought I had to get in and buy something before I couldn't get anything. And I don't know, I suppose it's just like read books, but be aware. Maybe if you don't know what you're doing, you could maybe try and seek some help. But and I even with back when I bought that house too, like the interest rates were 8%, and I'm sort of paying the same amount now for my house. Is worth way more, but because the rates are so low. But that's what I like with the property plan and things like that they are accounting for it to be a lot higher. So you sort of are about like you're protected a little bit there. And I suppose I would say, like, don't be so stingy and maybe get some advice to help you get a plan and work it out. Because reading books, like I said, it can make you dangerous, and I don't understand properly, and it's cost me a lot in the long run. And I just wish that I had someone I could talk to back then. But back then the internet wasn't really, I don't know, there was nothing really around, I don't think. Well, now it's everywhere, and now you got to be worried about Spruikers. But
there's no doubt, from someone who's been doing this for 25 years, the legwork was a lot harder, and so hence it was so much harder that your market opportunities were so much smaller. You would normally, invest in your own backyard of your own city. These days, with internet and richer property data, the borderless investment proposition is real. It's live, and it's a lot easier than what it was, Michael. So I think there's a lesson in that. But I also take away some other lessons. So you talk about, yes, you're a victim of opportunity cost. If you had have executed a lot better than you have, you would be in a better position than you are. But look, that's the past. We can't change the past. Yep. Your story for me is about a story of continual learning, persistence, staying the course, and also then calling, having a reflection moment where you're sort of saying, I think there's people that can do this a little bit better than I can. And that is, to me, about the accountability partner, because I know when people come and speak with me and our team, one of the first questions we talk about here is, we come from a conservative position. So we sort of do a scene setting piece, right? We come from a conservative position, but we also want you to be our accountability partner. So in other words, if what we're telling you doesn't make sense, call it out, right? And so all of a sudden there's trust that's being built in the relationship. So if you're ever dealing with a professional person, the last thing that professional person should want is your complete compliance, right? Because if you're just basically going, yep, okay, whatever you say, yep, whatever you say, all of a sudden, their approach could get a little bit lazy. They could, take things for granted. I like the idea that even if you're a passive investor, you got to look over the fence and you got to say, what's going on here? Or how does this piece work? And as you know, the 36-month cash flow forecast that you're now striving to get, is real. So I think that's an important message for anyone in the community who's going to build their team of professional people, to make sure that we're really clear that it's two-way accountability, right? And ultimately, a great advisor shouldn't, I've seen also other advisors and other businesses that I've been involved in, even the early stage mortgage broking businesses, right? Where the mortgage brokers could potentially agree with everything the customer said. And I'm like, no, your job here is to also, show them the opportunity here and show them the scenarios that will get them into a better position. So that's really important when you're building professional relationships, that you have that two-way dialogue and you're building, respect, trust and rapport as part of that program. So that's that I wanted to sort of say as a message. I want to pivot and just talk a little bit about your wife, who sounds pretty dynamic and amazing, but also focus on what's important to you. And you made a little clue in there for me to ask a couple more questions about someone being active in the process and someone being semi-active or passive in that process. That is quite common in the sense that those people listening to this are going to say, well, we're not both completely on the same page, or one's driving this and someone's a little bit of a passenger. You absolutely need to have someone who has a keener interest, but you can't have complete passengers. So can you tell us about how you gave us a little clue, but tell us more about how you got her onto the idea of potentially getting some advice. And then when you went through that program, what did that look like for her in terms of making that invisible visible and giving her confidence to move forward?
Yeah, like I said, I always had my own spreadsheets and did everything. And I would try and show her so she understood what was going on, but like she wasn't that interested. And then when I went to try and get a property plan, I remember just thinking, I wonder what she's going to think here. Is this like another scam or something? But so we had the initial consult, and after that, she got involved with that, and she's been involved with all those meetings and things, and she was sort of got to understand what it was about and was involved too. So she knew it wasn't just something that I'm doing. And so by doing all this property plan, even with the buyer's agent that I've got now, like she's involved with it all. So I'm trying to keep her involved. Like she's like, oh, it's up to you. Like you can be the one who makes the decision finally or anything. But she's involved as well. So she knows what's going on. She's part of it. So that's the main thing.
Can I just jump in with one extra little question then? How did she enjoy the lifestyle by design process? Like, because that's the best bit of it. Because at the end of the day, this is about the personal goals and that information, as opposed to not just the cash flows and the money. The cash flows and the money give us the ideas of what's possible. But did she throw in a few things that she wanted as part of that lifestyle by design?
No, not really. She doesn't even like buying shoes. So I got to tell her to go buy like if she wants stuff, because she just doesn't care too much about spending money. I don't know. It's good for me, but but yeah. So with that, that was actually probably the hardest part, doing that, like trying to work out, because starts asking questions that I never thought of, like with our little daughter, does she need to go to, or do we want her to go to private school, public school, and other stuff. Will we be having another kid, and then when will that kid be kind of coming potential? And I was like, I sort of didn't think about any of these things really. And then it was good though, because you start putting rough figure or numbers, and have another kid soon, and that sort of then balances it out. And I think even if we don't, it doesn't matter, because we've planned kind of for that other scenario that's more costly, and even with that, we're still achieving what we need to achieve. So if that happens later or before, it still can work, and I think we can still go and adjust it all and make it work. But
brilliant.
But that's why it's good to have that plan.
Brilliant. No, I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Hey, Michael, you loved your spreadsheets. You came across Money Smarts. You're now a convert. Take us back to that point, that decision where what was it that got you in the end to let go of the spreadsheets and then move over to the system? What was the final thing that tipped you over the edge?
Yeah, so I got in there and set up the account, started playing with it, and I just seen how much easier it was and streamlined, and just has all the prompts of what you should type in there, and just made it a lot easier, and just even adjusting it was good. And then I like all the graphs and stuff, and it's super simple. I can do it on my phone, I can do it on my computer. It's on the internet, so I don't have to be at home you know, we're trying to open up a Google Drive to open up the Excel spreadsheet and play around with it. So, and like the other thing was that I don't have to touch anymore. Really, that's as much as I like going in there and playing with it. I set that 7-day float pretty much, and that's the only thing I really got to worry about. And then after that, or once a month, I go in and look through my accounts for like 5 minutes and just type in anything that was a provision. Other than that, I don't need to worry about moving any money anywhere because it all just goes into my offset account. So yeah, I don't have to have, because I used to have like 6 different accounts. One was like bills, one was holiday, one was something else. It was just too many to worry about. Now that's why I got all these accounts I need to actually delete, or I've got rid of a few, but they're just sitting there with zero balance and everything's just in the offset. So yeah.
Oh, fabulous. Hey, my final question for you, Michael, is kind of a rounding out of this journey, right? Where you've started, where you've been, some of the mistakes that you've made. Now you're well and truly on track, and money management is a thing that provides you with peace, which is great. What's that going to feel like for you? You know, because you there's no doubt you will achieve what you've set on your plan. That is irrefutable, based on the conversation we've had with you. So, what sort of sense of pride and fulfillment will you have once you know that you're well and truly on track, and then also the messages that you can pass on to your kids going forward?
Yeah. So it's just peace of mind for me that I've got a plan. I know where I'm going, kind of thing. I don't need to. I got the target in mind. I can just track towards that. As long as I'm going okay, then it's all gonna be all right. And then again, with the properties, I don't need to worry. Once I start getting them, I'm just gonna hold on to them. I don't need to sell them or do anything. It's just the long game. Hold it, and then it just literally just comes around to the peace of mind that I don't need to keep tracking everything. I don't need to work anything out. It's worked out for me pretty much, and I can just focus on my family. It's pretty much the main thing I want to do. So I work for 8 days straight, can come home and actually just relax with my family for the 6 days and do things with them and not have to worry about other stuff. It's just, I can just focus on them. And my other thing to everybody else would be to just literally go back and listen to the first, 10 episodes of your podcast and just see if that resonates with you. And if it does, then maybe get a property plan or something with somebody and continue down that path, because it's going to make your life a lot more simpler, I reckon.
So the transformation's been, real for you. You've got a real clear, you've got money on autopilot. You've made the invisible visible. You're no longer flying blind. So that's a real great transformation story. So I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, are we retiring a little bit earlier? What are we doing? We've got another baby planned as part of your strategy. Tell us a little bit about the sort of passive income that you're chasing and what's what you need as part of that plan.
So yeah, we've got another planned baby, I think next year. We'll see. It's been a bit hard this one with COVID and everything, so we might push it back another year. But yeah, we are talking about retiring earlier. Like for me, it was 55, I think. But I wouldn't be fully retired. It'd be just not maybe doing this job or backing off hours. Yeah. I still want to do something. I'm not a person who can just sit around and do nothing. But yeah, just do something I'm more interested in, or even some more volunteer work and other things like that.
Any special holidays planned with the family as part of the modelling?
Oh, well, so in our modelling, I think it was every 4 years we got like a bigger holiday spend. That's to go overseas, and because Amy's family's all over in Scotland, so they haven't met Ellie, my daughter, yet. So I think we're meant to be going over there as soon as we can. We'll go for a visit. Yeah.
Awesome. And my final question is around the story with your mum and your stepdad, right? In terms of that old railway property that they paid $60,000 for. Tell us about that life-changing transformation for them in terms of setting them up with a little bit of a nest egg for retirement.
Yeah, so that was pretty good, like 60 grand. Like we said, it was the worst house in the street. I think most other ones sold for 90 or something like that, and it'd be like holes punched in the walls. So we got to do a lot of that. Sort of sanding, painting, which I learned I hate painting. So, but yeah, we sort of built all the deck, got to build a lot of things and sort of make it our home and things like that. And it was a little while ago. It's worth 500 grand now, I think. But so I can see that growth in that potential. But yeah,
that's a great story. That's a nice little way to finish off.
So, Michael, I put the call out for people to respond to the summer series, and So I'm interested to know what caused you to say yes and come and share your story, because it is very, very vulnerable to come and open up your own experience, and the lessons that people learn is amazing when you do that. Why did you do it, and what did you hope? What message did you hope the most that would come across for our community to learn?
Yeah, so I did just because I've listened to a lot of the other people's stories, and it's just interesting seeing, some people bought a place and got really good equity and got to a good ride, and then I've heard some other guys who have had a bit more of a struggle, and I thought I just want to say sort of my story, my struggle, whatever, and then that I'm hoping to turn it around. And I'm 33 now, and I feel like the last 10 years has just been, it's a little bit of a waste, but not really. Like you said, I got to look at it as a learning experience, and then I'm starting. Almost, it feels like fresh because I got rid of that other investment property, and I'm starting again 10 years later. I learned a lot from it, and I just got to take that as a learning experience, and I can start, anybody can start again, or you can start for the first time if you haven't done it before, or I just wanted to share that sort of part of it.
Mate, you're a credit to yourself. You're a doer. You're taking action, and now you're blending the two perfect pieces of the formula together. Education and action, right? And you get out the other side with a result. So, all power to you, mate. You've done a great job. And I'm really interested to see how the next sort of decade rolls out for you, because I think it's going to be a really nice feeling. And I can tell you, 20 years your senior, that it just continues to roll on. There are definitely lean years in the property space, but then you start seeing your portfolio doing what it's doing today when you've got properties in different places. It's just a really nice feeling to know that you're financially secure and you're on that pathway. You're definitely from my point of view, if I look at the 7 grades of financial transformation, you've had financial consciousness quite a lot. You're past financial, you're into financial stability, and now you're taking control. And I really like where you're heading in your direction.
Yeah, no, I echo everything that Ben said, mate. Thanks for being vulnerable, for sharing. That lesson will land for a lot of people over this summer series, mate. So on behalf of everyone here on the Property Couch, Michael, thanks for coming onto the couch and sharing your story.
No worries, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Michael. You're a gem,
mate. What a just a
caravan park,
yes,
upbringing to moving around the country to going from the Northern Territory into Queensland.
How's the look in your eye when we're chatting about that? And people can't see that on an audio production, but we started reminiscing about where you just been, Ben. I could see
good old Mataranka. Yeah, it's a great part of the world.
See your eyes light up. So
do yourself a favour. Yeah. Hey, look, takeaways for me, some really good ones in there. But this is a resilient story. This is a story about having a go. Yep. Realizing that, you had a couple of false starts, then basically outsourcing that, right? But he's on a continual learning exercise. And I think from my point of view, all credit to you, Michael. I've said that before. You're a doer, and most doers get results because they take action. So I just loved it.
I loved it too, mate. I love that we said it a couple of times in the chat. I'd read enough books to make me dangerous, Ben. So I love that. I wonder if anyone can relate to that. But Michael, you are a transformation story that I think a lot of people will draw a lot of inspiration out of. There'll be little pieces that they can take that I think will make a super difference. But thank you for coming on, Ben. We're too into this, and we've got quite a few to go, and it is going to be a lot of fun, mate. But until next week.
Knowledge is empowering, Bryce, but only if you act on it.
Hey guys, Bryce here again. Just want to catch you before you go and let you know, if you're new to our community, there are a lot of episodes to catch up on, but it's really important that you start from the very beginning at episode number 1. Because episode 1 through to 20 share all of the foundational pillars and frameworks that you need to know to get the best out of listening to this podcast. So I'd recommend that you start there, and the little tip is to maybe start on 1.5 speed. Now, for those of you that are time poor and don't have time to go back from the beginning, don't worry, we've got you covered as well, because we've created a binge guide that goes through all of the details and makes it easy for you to read and get up to speed very, very quickly. So if you go to propertycouch.com.au/fast track. You will be able to download that binge guide and you will be up to speed in no time. And whilst you're there, I've got a few extra goodies for you because we have our top 5 frameworks that you'll learn on this podcast, as well as the Make Money Simple Again ebook, which will help you with the foundations of basic money management so you'll have everything you need to succeed in building your own lifestyle design and getting the best out of this podcast. Now, just a reminder that anything that we cover on this podcast is not considered financial advice. We certainly recommend that you get your unique circumstances looked at by your individual advisor, and everything we talk about is just general in nature. To thepropertycouch.com.au/fast track, and you can go and get all those goodies and catch up right away.